Welcome to the Happy, Healthy Life Podcast with your hosts, Rob and Randy, who reveal the truth, the lies, and confusion about health so that you are no longer the victim to mainstream medical dogma and you are the hero to your own happy, healthy story.
Hey there, welcome back to the Happy Healthy Life Podcast with your host, Rob and
Randy.
And we are
the Happy Healthy Guys.
What if you could be able to have the mindset to know that you could have the happiest, healthiest year of your life this year? That is what we're going to be talking about today, because when it comes down to it, everything boils down to what is going on in your brain, your thoughts, and what it is that you believe that you need to either do, be, or become to be the happiest, healthiest version of yourself.
Yep. Too many times we do what is called the stinking thinking, and the story, the words do matter. The words and the stories that we tell ourselves really begin to shape and influence the outcome of our life. I remember even years ago, back when I was in clinical practice, I remember walking into one of the adjustment area rooms, and there was a lady that had probably started care with me maybe for a few weeks, had lots of headaches, lots of pain. And I remember walking into the room and she goes, "Dr. Randy, am I ever going to be healthy again? Am I ever going to feel better?" And I just paused when I heard her say that. And I remember responding to her in a very respectful way, but in a firm way. And I remember asking her, I'm like, well, really, or telling her, I said, really, that's going to be up to you. That's 100% up to you, because if you don't believe that you're ever going to feel good again or be healthy again, then I can promise you, you never will, because that's how powerful your mind is. And we had a shift that day, and I remember her changing her attitude, seeing herself healthy, and overcoming all of these challenges. It really is that big. I remember even in my own life, one of the reasons I got the heck out of America and really out of my life when I was diagnosed with that late stage cancer diagnosis is I wanted to protect my thoughts. I didn't want to hear people telling me, doctors giving me this, they'd already given me this death sentence of 2 months to 2 years. Well, I rejected that. I'm not going to believe that. The only reason they would know I would only live 2 months to 2 years, that's not based off the cancer. That was based off the treatment they were recommending, because they know when you treat people with cancer drugs, they know how quickly it can kill you. But I had to keep my mind protected. I wanted to make sure that I was seeing myself healthy, believing I was going to be on the other side of this. I even know with you, when you were in your worst moment, you literally had pictures all over your wall of all the things you were going to be doing again once you were able to overcome that horrible injury you had to your back. It really is that powerful. Our thoughts are more powerful than reality.
Yeah, it's just, wow, I forgot about that. I had literally cut out a bunch of photos. And for those of you who don't, I literally had blown out 2 discs in my lower back. And when I say blow them out, a 13 millimeter herniated disc that was sitting directly on top of my spinal cord, so I could barely walk. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going out that way. And had cut out photos of a perfect spine. I had photos of like Tiger Woods playing golf, because I love to play golf, and I knew I could see myself playing golf again, and just being able to see that. But where that started is in having the belief that my body could be able to heal, my body could be able to repair, my body could be able to be whole again. And so I think without that belief, and that's the belief that a lot of people are taught here, especially in the United States, is that you're broken and there's something wrong with you. And it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when that's finally going to catch up with you. And instead of living the best years of your life in your golden years or whatever that is after you turn 50, that it's just going to be downhill from there. And you even hear people say stupid stuff like that. In other words, it's all downhill from here.
Yeah.
You know what? It's going to be like this. It sucks getting old, or they just say these things like that. But what you're doing is you're reinforcing those beliefs in your brain to agree. And that's the one thing, is that your brain is always, and your mind is always going to do, it's always going to agree with itself. And so if you can be able to change that, we've got some shifts to be able to help you to be able to change the way you're thinking so that your body will heal this year in 2025, so that you are living the best life of your life in 2025. And I think one of those things, and even just talking about this from a longevity perspective, is really having that mindset shift of going from this being a short-term fix for right now, that what I'm doing right now is my long-term health investment. So it makes you think about, okay, you're at the grocery store. Should I buy the meat that is grass-fed, organic, green grass-fed, organic, that's more expensive than the meat that's over here, that's like that weird red color that's not actually meat color, but it's cheaper, and you know what? It's just meat.
With you talking about the dye that they use and then it's
Yeah.
got the meat glue in it and
Ex-
the needling where they pump it full of water to inflate it and it's
ex-
not even real.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So am I going to choose one based on cost, or am I going to choose the one that I know that's better for me based on my long-term health investment?
Yeah.
Right? Because you're not saving yourself money or time by buying the one that you know that's going to be hurting your body and breaking it down. Because in the long run, when you look at the number one cause of bankruptcy in the United States is medical bills. So the way that you actually make money is by making yourself healthier. Your health is your wealth. Because here's one thing that I have never ever seen before. I have never ever seen a hearse with a U-Haul trailer behind it. Why? Because you can't take it with you. Okay. So you may as well be investing into yourself and your health while you're here. So looking at your health from a long-term health investment.
Well, I mean, that's a great point because that's one of the lies that we seed into our brains, and we keep saying it because we'll even say this, and I've even heard myself say this before. People say this a lot. Wow, that's really, really expensive. And when you start using words like that about things that matter the most, what's really expensive is what you just said. Are you really saving money by eating the fake processed food? For the short term, yeah, my grocery bill is lower, but on the backside of that cancer bill is not low. That heart disease bill isn't low. That diabetes bill is literally bankrupting our country. So even using the word that's expensive is probably not even the best words to use because you start to believe you don't deserve to have it.
Yep.
And really, what's expensive? I don't know. It's all how you frame your words. Really, I don't ever use the word that's too expensive. I use the words, hey, I don't really have value for that right now in my life, which is a subtlety, but it's a different way to communicate versus saying something's expensive. Usually it's expensive compared to what? And if you compare it to things that are like you just talked about, like chronic disease, that grass-fed regenerative beef is a great investment in you. Start believing, number one, that you deserve to have healthy food, that you deserve to be happy, you deserve to be healthy. We talk about living in gratitude, vitamin G. What are your thoughts? What are your beliefs? And how is that shaping and controlling your life? It really is it is the most important and most powerful thing you can do is to regain control of the thoughts and the words that you're speaking to yourself. What are you speaking to yourself? What are you speaking to others? And what are others speaking into you? Three great questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those of you, I mean, just from a practical standpoint, that you're like, hey, I can't afford to make that healthier choice. I know the folks who are in our group who have made the investment, they typically don't do things like that.
Right.
However, if anybody else is listening to this podcast, you need to hear this, is stop making yourself second best. And what I mean by that is you may look at things even at the grocery store and say, hey, you know what? Like you just said, I can't afford that. But what you're doing is you're reinforcing that you're not worthy of that.
Right.
And so you are worthy of that. Stop making yourself second best. Allow yourself to put you first. I was just flying back in town yesterday from Nashville, and I was sitting in the exit, seat. And they're, they ask you all the questions about, are you willing to open this door up? And I'm thinking if it comes down to that point, God may be ready to take me home at that point. However, what do they always say is that when the oxygen mask drops down, you put it on yourself first, and then you put it on your children next. Because if that person doesn't have the ability to be able to do what needs to be done in that emergency situation, they're not going to be usable for their kids to be able to save their life as well. But life is really like that as well. If you're not healthy, how are you going to help the people that are most important around you? So that's why these mindset shifts are so important.
I'm not trying to laugh because that's a very important point. It just reminded me of a Christmas movie, though. Can I digress here for just a second?
Of course.
You know the movie Four Christmases, if you've ever seen the movie Four Christmases, and remember when it was Reese Witherspoon and Vince Vaughn, they're this couple and they're driving together in the car, and they just had this fight that they'd gotten into, and basically Reese Witherspoon is like, I would like to think that, if we were in an airplane, that you'd put the mask on me first before you put it on yourself. And he goes, well, you know what? I wouldn't. And the FAA wouldn't want me to do it either.
True story. And there's a reason for that, right?
Anyway.
Exactly right. So the next mindset shift is go from saying things, God, this is all the things that we say to ourselves. And that's why it reminds me, even I spent a long time this week. It was longer than I've ever spent in my preparation of the upcoming year. And one of the things that I worked a lot on is even just the things that I say to myself in my affirmations.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that a lot of people will say is, I don't have time to blah, 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 right?
Right.
And so it's going from I don't have time to, you know what? My health is non-negotiable, right? And so what that does is that makes you have time for whatever that thing was that you said that you didn't have time when it comes to your health. In other words, it could be like, hey, you know what? I don't have time to work out in the morning.
Wow. I just wanted to slap you by saying that. Right, like, what the heck?
It's like, no, I have time. Well, I made time to scroll through Instagram for 20 minutes before I went to bed. Why not go to bed 20 minutes earlier so that I can wake up 20 minutes earlier? So now I have the time. So it's all really in what it is that you're putting your value into. You want to know what you value in life? Look at what you spend your time doing. And so that was one of the reasons for me that right now I am on a social media fast. And so no Instagram for me. If you need to get a hold of me, you're not going to get a hold of me through Instagram, by the way, and or Facebook. So if we're that good of friends, you have my cell phone number, so you can actually send me a text message that you're needing to get a hold of me. But I tell you what, yesterday was the first day of this. Oh my gosh. If I'm being honest, I'm like, I can't tell you. So it's not even like on the first screen of none of that's all taken off the first screen of my phone. All those notifications are turned off. But man, I was having some withdrawals.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And what it made me see is that I'm like, oh my gosh, in those times of the day when I do have just a little bit of downtime, for example, sitting on an airplane waiting for it to take off, what would I normally do? I would get onto social media and just start scrolling through there. And I couldn't do that. I almost felt like this person that was having like crack withdrawals. I'm like looking around, I'm like
detoxing.
What do I do? Well,
seriously,
I could actually open up my bag and read a book that I've got in there that is a lot more in alignment with my goals, my hopes, my dreams, my purpose than scrolling through Instagram. So what that did, and I found yesterday, is that I had so much more time to be able to do things that were of value to me in my life. So,
I saw that you'd posted that you'll be leaving the social media scene. So I was like, congratulations, man. What a great thing for all of us to do, or at least minimize that, because that's also downloading things into your own brain that you're now even believing about yourself, or you're creating anxiety. It's so powerful. So going back to, what are you telling yourself? What are others telling you? And then what are you telling others? I really want to get my mindset focused around seeing what is possible. And, it's kind of like this time of year when you go into the new year, it kind of gives you that chance to kind of get that fresh start, hit that reset button, and really recenter your thoughts and your focus on really what you want for your life. And so the power of our minds, it really is the most important thing. If you think you're going to be sick, you probably will be. What's funny is, I really, we don't believe in the germ theory.
Right.
Right. And of course, that's a foundational principle of the medical model because they need people to fear germs to control them and keep them on vaccines and drugs. So it's really funny is I've noticed, when I stopped believing in germs, I stopped getting sick from germs. And let me repeat that. When I stopped believing in germs making people sick or making me sick, then I stopped getting sick from germs or from other people. And it's really powerful when you start to realize that literally you can think yourself healthy, you can think yourself sick. And if you don't see health as the normal, and you look around and you see all the sickness and all the disease, and you believe that that's just going to be you, that just runs in your family, or you're just getting older, or you just somehow got dealt a bad poker hand and you're the victim. Here's what we know is a victim mindset doesn't allow you to live the life that God has for you. Victims never heal. They never really fulfill their potential. And they live in this world where everything's against them versus seeing what is possible. Life isn't happening to us. It is happening for us. Do you believe that? Can you really, really see that? And if you can't see that in your mind and speak it with your words, I really believe it's delusional and it's toxic.
No, we always say, what, God lives inside of us, and if He lives inside of us, and He's the ultimate creator, then we are the creator of everything happening into our lives, both good and bad.
You got it.
Right? So if you've got the same things that keep on showing up in your life, that's God's way of allowing you to be able to receive a lesson. That is an opportunity for you to learn that lesson over and over and over. So that brings to the mindset number 3 is shift from having a mindset of being motivation driven to being discipline driven. Because here's what we know is that if you're waiting to be motivated to be healthy, that may not ever happen, because there's always going to be things around that are going to make you feel better, feel more comfortable than changing a habit. And I got to be honest with you as well. It's like for the last few weeks in the end of the year, coming to the New Year's, as I'm reflecting on just 2024, and I'm looking forward to 2025, which we were just talking about a few minutes ago. It's hard to believe that it's already January the 9th. It's already almost the middle of January. Is that I haven't had a lot of motivation to do stuff. When I get into these reflective periods, all I really want to do is just read and study. I'm a nerd when it comes to doing things like that. So I haven't been super motivated to get up in the morning and do my meditation and my visualization and my working out and doing those things. And right here is where discipline takes over, because discipline is letting go of that needing to feel comfortable and actually do something, which is why when I was looking at we're talking before we came on about words for the year, or what your intentions for the year is. And last year, my intention word, and I always put it on my necklace. So this is, my intention. This is an intention necklace, and it has a word written on it. And I do this every year. So last year, the word was transformation. And I'm like looking through different words of what's it going to be for this year. And I had like a list of 10 that I put down to whittle down to 5 words. And I'm like, what's the word going to be? It's just not coming to me. I'm listening, I'm at church on Sunday and they're talking about this next year. And I'm like, God, give me a sign of what the word is going to be. And just asking and looking at them. And there was one word that kept on like just popping out of the page and popping out and popping out. And I kept on ignoring it. And I kept on ignoring it because I'm not a fan of this word. If you can probably imagine and guess what the word is discipline. That is my word for this year. And I don't like the word because discipline, it's like it commits you.
Yeah.
Okay. It commits you to taking action on a daily basis, even when you don't want to do those things. So it's shifting from having a motivation mindset to having a discipline-driven mindset, because that makes you do those things every single day. And like when we had gone through the program um, uh, uh, 75 hard.
Yeah.
It's the, 75 hard. If you don't know what that is, it's a program where for 75 days, you work out every day, 2 times a day. One of those has to be outside. So like today it's snowing outside. I wouldn't be very motivated to go outside and exercise,
What's
but
less than zero?
exactly. But
Zero minus the probability of
that's
one. That's the number.
But today you're outside, you're outside exercising in the sleet, in the snow. And so what Andy Frisella, who created this program, and by the way, you're also drinking a gallon of water every day.
Oh, yeah.
You're reading at least 10 pages of a book that's a purposeful book, self-help type book. You take a body selfie every day. If you miss, and you're also doing a nutrition eating plan, and you've got to be perfect with it for 75 days, right? And so it's not even progress over perfection. It is perfection in this case. Because if you miss one thing, then you have to start all the way back over at day number 1. And one of the things that we learned and he talked about is being a master of the monotonous, right? It's that discipline of doing the same thing every single day. It doesn't matter if you feel like doing it or not. You just do it because you have the discipline to do it every single day. That's really what it is, the mastering of the monotonous.
Yeah, and he talks about that because he talks about, when people say, well, what did you tell yourself to create that type of discipline? He goes, I didn't tell myself anything. I just asked myself questions like, what is your life going to look like if you continue to have zero integrity with the words that you keep telling yourself? When you literally become the liar that you've always hated to be, you're becoming a person that has no real moral integrity with yourself, because every time you say something, you cut a corner. So it's not about really telling yourself something all the time. Sometimes it's about asking really good questions like, you know what? If I don't focus on discipline this year, what is my life going to look like going into 2026? And I think you probably asked yourself that question, and you didn't like the answer to that question. Is there anything that you are telling yourself, though, in regards to discipline? Is there like something that you put into your affirmations, or just something that you're focused on? I'm curious.
Yeah, you know what? This year, what I'm really focused on is, excuse me, last year, for me, it was. And if you've listened to me speak now for the last year, I've talked a lot about like masculine energy, feminine energy, and healed masculine energy, and those types of things. And last year for me was really about, I had a lot of different trauma related to the way I was brought up from my mom. So there was a lot of unhealed masculine energy there that I needed to overcome last year. So it was really, for me, it was really being open to anything, and saying yes to a lot of things. And so because my word was transformation, I'm like, if I'm going to transform, I've got to be open to, whatever comes along. This year, it's about really being disciplined and focused. That's more masculine. So for this year, the focus really is on really having that healed and healthy masculine, where it keeps me focused on doing the things that I need to do in order to be able to leave a legacy. So with that being said, instead of going wide and saying yes to everything, this year's focus is going to be saying no to a lot more things, creating better boundaries. So the focus really is on boundaries and saying no and being disciplined with that. Because for me, as you know, with that unhealed, wounded, feminine energy, I want everybody to be happy, right? And so I want everybody to feel good. I want everybody to be happy. So that's where like some people pleasing type stuff would come in on board. For me, this year is not about pleasing people.
Dude, last year you were literally Jim Carrey in the movie Yes Man. Remember that movie?
100%.
I'm on a movie kick right now, apparently. But yeah, you were literally the yes man. And sometimes you need to be the yes man because you are saying no. But I like discipline really is having the ability to say no when everything in you wants to say yes, and vice versa.
It's the hardest thing for me.
Yeah, half the time I work out, my brain is already telling me all the reasons why I don't need to do it. And now when I hear that voice, I'm like, now I know that I have to go do it because you tried to lie to me and taught me out of something that was in my best interest. And a lot of times we listen to that voice, but that voice is coming from a place where we have programmed that voice and conditioned that voice not only lie to us, but we listen to that voice as if it's some expert or some truth sayer.
What is it? What is it that I forget? What is it that Andrew Frisella calls that voice?
The bitch voice.
That's what. Okay, that's
yeah.
what
He calls it the bitch
I knew he had a
voice.
word for it. All right.
Yeah, you don't want to listen to that voice because that voice is not speaking truth over you. It does not have your best interests at heart, which goes back to the words that you say, the thoughts that you think. What do you really believe about your life? Are you taking captive of your thoughts? Like the Bible says, I feel I need to bring up the Bible now after saying the B word. But yeah, are you really taking control? Are you capturing those thoughts and being accountable to that? Because really, I said this earlier, your thoughts really are more powerful than reality. And I was going to give you a few examples here as we're getting ready to finish this up. But this is the power of our mind. And a lot of people know about the placebo effect, which comes from the Latin word I will please.
Speaking of people pleasing.
Speaking of people pleasing, Mr. Placebo over here. But there's also a phenomenon known as nocebo. So the placebo is it's going to benefit you in a positive way, or you believe that it will. The nocebo from Latin is I will harm. So that means that something's going to impact you in a negative way. So one of the biggest studies that was ever done on placebo was done in 2002. And what they did a surgery for arthritic knees on 180 people. Okay. So what they did, they took these people with knee osteoarthritis, and half of them got the real orthoscopic surgery. The other half, which was the placebo group, they did a sham surgery where basically they made an incision. Yep. So they didn't know that they got the surgery, didn't get the surgery. And guess what the study showed? When they followed these people up, and this was after 24 months, nobody could tell who got the surgery and who didn't, because the pain reduction was the same in the placebo group as it was in the actual group that got the surgery. Now think about that. Yeah. No surgery done, yet because they believed they got this surgery that was going to help them, they got the same benefit as those who got it. Don't tell me that our mind doesn't play a role in how we live our life and how we heal. And in contrast to that, listen to this. This was actually a study done on the nocebo effect. And there's been so many studies done on this phenomenon. It's so powerful. But in 1983, there was a group of British researchers, and they took 400 cancer patients. All right. And they divided them up into 3 groups. 2 of the groups got different chemotherapy drugs. The other group got a saline solution, so a salt solution. So you got 3 groups divided up, 400 people. 2 of the groups got different forms of chemo. 1 group got a saline solution. Check this out. What they found out was that 31% of the people who got the salt water or the saline lost their hair.
No way.
31% of them lost their hair crazy. Because they thought they were getting chemo. 35% got drug-related nausea. Once again, they didn't get any drugs. They got a saline solution. 22%, check this out, they actually got drug-related vomiting. They're losing their hair, they're nauseous, and they're throwing up everywhere because they believed that they got a drug, a chemotherapy drug, and so all the main symptoms of the chemotherapy drug, they experienced them, yet all they got was a saline solution. So, and there's so many more of these studies, but the placebo and the nocebo effect, this is real science-based. What we're talking about, this is a science-based mindset. You have to know that you can't just disregard the power of your mind and what you believe to be true. Going back to when I got sick, when I was diagnosed, I literally had to break the mind of what I was hearing, listen, they were telling me I was going to die. I rejected it. I changed my mind, and I believed, and I could see, no, you're not going to die. You're going to live, and you're going to tell of the works of the Lord. And I told myself that. Sometimes I felt like I was saying that to myself every single second. You're not going to die. You're going to live, and you'll tell of the works of the Lord. And man, thank God, 15 years later, here I am, happy, healthy, strong, with a robust, strong mindset. I'm not just, I don't just walk around life now not being convicted, because, man, when you see something like that happen, and it may, heck, who knows, maybe 99% of the reason I got well was because of my mindset. I don't even know. People ask, what did you do? Well, I did a lot of things. Maybe the one thing that saved my life, and not maybe, it probably was I really believed that I was going to get well, that I was going to heal, and that health was the norm and disease was the abnorm. What are you telling yourself?
Yeah, and that just brings us to that is a perfect segue into the last mindset shift, and that's shifting your mind from "I'll be happy when" to "I'm grateful now," right? And so, that attitude of being grateful now is like that attitude of going, you know what? Yeah, I've been diagnosed with cancer, and I'm grateful now for that. Why? This is happening. I might not know the answer to that question right now.
Yeah.
However, I'm grateful because it's an opportunity. I may not know what the opportunity is right now for
You almost
whatever
never
it is.
do.
You almost don't ever
Never
know,
know.
but you look back on it. I think about it now and going, you know what? Being grateful for me, even then, while you were going through that, having had that back injury, having gained the extra 65 pounds, having had metabolic disease at that time, because that all gave us the opportunity to be able to figure out how to overcome that.
Yeah.
To be able to figure out this program that we've got, our metabolism program, to be able to help people get to a place in their life and their health that they've never been before.
Yeah.
And so that was the opportunity. And because of that, we've been able to help thousands and thousands of people overcome metabolic disease, overcome where they were headed to being in that place where they had cancer. And here's what we know. We get calls all the time, text messages. Hey, Rob, can you put me in touch with Dr. Randy? So-and-so has
I just got
cancer.
one this morning. Got one this morning from one of our friends out in California. Yep, a doctor.
Exactly. So we get to be able to help prevent that from ever being a thing, because here's what happens when we get those messages from people. It'll be like the one I'm talking about. It said, hey, I've got my scans, my PET scan with my oncologist cancer doctor on Monday. I've got this test that's going to happen on Tuesday. I've got this thing that's going to happen on Wednesday. Do you think that I could be able to be helped? Here's the problem, is that their mindset is so deep into the medical model, they can't shift back out of that.
Yep.
We could come along and say, hey, yeah, go see Dr. Helu over in Spain, do a consultation with him. Well, then they start asking us those questions. Well, how much is that going to be? That's a medical-minded question. That's a victim-minded question.
Yep.
Is my insurance going to cover that? I don't have the time to go down to go to Spain. They say all these things start popping up that we have been conditioned to think. So the point of that is, by the time it gets to that place where you do have that cancer diagnosis, or that person does have that cancer diagnosis, it's almost too late to get them out of that.
Yeah, it really is, because that is the power of the mind. You literally start saying, I have cancer. Stop saying you have cancer. Stop naming your disease and owning it. Remember, if you believe you have disease, and the medical system needs you to believe that, because now you are a victim. And if you are a victim, you cannot get well. Disease is incurable. Disease is incurable. But if you know you're not a victim and that you're a victor, there is no disease. There's dis-ease, which puts you right smack dab in the middle of your health journey and your outcome, because now you're not looking to treat a condition that came out of nowhere based off bad genetics or your age, or once again, a bad poker hand. Now you're playing an active role of, what am I doing in my life that is interfering? What is that dis-ease? What is that dis-ease? What am I doing that's creating this outcome? And now it puts you in a completely different position, because dis-ease is 100% curable. Disease is incurable. What are you telling yourself? What do you believe about yourself? And this is why we've been preaching from the mountaintops for over 25 years that God does not make junk, that health is the normal, disease is the abnormal. Man, health and disease are the same thing. The body doing the right thing under the circumstances. What are your circumstances? What role are you playing? Be an active participant in your journey. Start speaking the truth over yourself, over your family. When you start doing that, Dr. Rob, we already know the possibilities are endless.
Yeah, and that's it. It's also, yes, I think you're talking about that. It's for us. We've always got this mindset of going, you know what? I'm grateful for whatever it is that's happening right now. I'm grateful that it's snowing and it's sleeting outside, right? I'm grateful to have the opportunity to be able to, like you started off, have a company to where it's a virtual company where it can help people all around the world. And what's funny is that you look this whole entire parking lot out here is completely empty, and there's a lot of healthcare facilities around here, but it's that mindset, it's that victim mentality that says, hey, you know what, if the conditions get bad enough and the circumstances around me get bad enough, you know what, I'm just not going to show up. And that happens, right?
Yeah.
In life. If the circumstances are bad enough, you know what, I'm just not going to show up in life for that. But because our belief is so strong in that God gave us this right here that we have in order to be able to help millions of people all over the world, was there ever a question as to whether or not we were going to come into the office today to do the podcast from our office, even though it's snowing outside, it's sleeting outside, the roadways, there's barely anybody out there, our parking lot is empty? Was there ever a question of whether or not we were going to come to the office this morning?
No, the answer was there was a zero question. And I want to tell you, thank you for having four-wheel drive and picking me up this morning to get me here, because my vehicle does not perform well in these conditions. But no, there wasn't, because we were good. Number one, we said we were going to do it.
Yeah.
You keep your word, because
That's that discipline.
It is discipline, and the discipline starts with your keeping your word to yourself. What is it you said that you're going to do? And then are you willing to do it? And I just want to be more committed to that than ever before. And it starts with the powerful mindset. So hopefully today we beat this horse into submission. Stop the stinking thinking. Start being thankful, living in gratitude. Start speaking and knowing and living the truth. I'm telling you, the mind is so powerful. Your thoughts are more powerful than your reality.
Absolutely. It's that Bible verse. I think it's in James where it's consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials and tribulations.
Amen to that.
So be grateful.
Yeah.
Whatever it is that's happening right now for you, it is an opportunity. And say thank you for whatever that opportunity is, no matter how painful it is, no matter how challenging it is. Say thank you for that. Be grateful for it. Have joy and have the happiest, healthiest life of your entire life this year in 2025.
Amen to that. I'm all in, baby.
Let's do it. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, guys.
Like it, comment on the show. We appreciate it. It helps us to help more people. And we will talk to you on the next episode of The Happy Healthy Life.
Thanks for listening to the Happy Healthy Life podcast. If you enjoy the show, make sure to follow them on Instagram at the H2 Life or on YouTube and Facebook at The Happy Healthy Guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and review the show wherever you listen to podcasts.